Welcome back to Kings of Columbus, the new setup. Doug and Bill in the room together. Bill, we're so excited. We have a table and mics and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, it's nice. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. So this is our new look. We won't always be together. You'll still see us on Kings of Columbus and Kings of the North in our separate homes at times, sharing the screen, but we will also do this sometimes. So if you haven't heard, Kings of the North is going live 5 shows a week. Actually, it's going to be more than that. But starting Monday, August 26th at noon. So we know this is Kings of Columbus. We know this loyal Ohio State audience made all of this possible for us. But if I'll ask a favor. If you wouldn't mind checking out Kings of the North, if you have not done it so far, Monday, August 26th would be a great time to do it on YouTube, live at noon. But it's also going to be in your podcast feeds. But again, we're inviting our most dedicated, educated, loyal folks who have made our careers possible to join us at the new thing.
Yeah, help us further our careers. Help keep us employed. You've been doing such a good job so far.
I do this sometimes. My kids don't think it's hilarious. It's not hilarious. But if I'm in a public setting and I'm confused about what I should do, I just start going, help. So that's what we're doing here. You're watching this show. You're like, I like Ohio State. Can we just do the Ohio State thing? And I'm shouting, help, for Kings of the North.
Has anyone ever actually responded to that?
No, it is definitely ignore that crazy old man territory.
Yeah, smart.
I was definitely doing it at the state fair.
Oh, the state fair is pretty overwhelming, though. I get that.
It really is. There have been, we're doing Whatcha at the end of the show. I got to watch it for you. So about eating. Boy, oh boy, was I confused about eating the other day. But that's not the primary thing we're here to do because it's not a food show. It is a football show. We did this last year, Bill, three times. We're going to do it again now. It is drafting the 22 best Ohio State players. Mm-hmm. We did it last preseason, after week 4 and after week 11. And it's just a good check on yourself and on the roster. And I will tell you that of the 22 players we drafted after week 11 last year, 14 of them are playing for Ohio State this year, which is pretty good of your top 22 guys.
That's really good. I knew the number was high. I didn't realize it was that high. 14's.
And it's like one of those things where one of the guys who's not here is Kyle McCord, who could be here if Ohio State wanted him to be here. So there's even, it's almost like the number is even higher than 14. So I do want to talk about our list from week 11, but before we do our draft for preseason now, can I run us through the preseason from last year?
Please do.
We only do this to mock ourselves and to remind you that sometimes we're wrong.
Sometimes.
Often we're wrong. Last year, preseason, Ohio State's top 22 players. Number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 2, Emeka Egbuka. Number 3, Donovan Jackson by me. That was my pick. Number 4, Tommy Eichenberg. Number 5, JT Tuimoloau. Number 6, Mike Hall. Number 7, Denzel Burke. Number 8, Lathan Ransom. Number 9, Travion Henderson. Number 10, Steele Chambers. A little hot by you there, maybe. Number 11, Sonny Styles, which is we were clawing each other's eyes out to draft Sonny Styles as high as we possibly could without being crazy. We wound up taking him 11th, and I will just tell you, Sonny Styles over the course of the season in our 3 drafts went from 11 to 10 to 9. But I think when we drafted him 11th, when in our hearts we wanted to draft him 4th, we might have thought he was going to be the number 2 player on the team by the end of the year.
I was going to say, I wanted to draft him 2nd, not 4th.
Yeah. So Sonny Styles is number 11, Jordan Hancock 12, Cade Stover 13, Josh Fryer 14, Julian Fleming 15, Jack Sawyer 16, Kyle McCord 17, which I think was accurately reflective of the uncertainty about the quarterback play. Mm-hmm. How often would you say Ohio State's their quarterback is going to be their 17th best player? Although I am very curious to see where Will Howard goes in this draft. Number 18, Kenyatta Jackson. Again, we were fighting for that. Didn't play. Nope. Number 19, Matt Jones. Number 20, Mayan Williams, injury. Mm-hmm. Number 21, Jihad Carter. And number 22, Tyleik Williams, who in our final draft last year was 3rd.
Which is a more accurate representation of his importance and how well he played last year.
That's a big move from 22 to 3.
Yeah. What was the Kyle McCord movement from the first?
Kyle McCord was number 17 in the first draft, number 8 in the second draft, because that was after the Notre Dame game.
Oh, we were hot. Yeah, we were hot.
And then number 12 after week 11, because that was before the Michigan game.
Yeah.
So the final ranking last year, week 11, Marv, JT, Tyleik, Trevion, Jack, Denzel, Hancock, Stover, Styles, Egbuka, Proctor, McCord, Matt Jones, Igbignosin, who did not make our top 22 in the preseason last year, Eichenberg, Ransom, Simon, Hall, Ty Hamilton, Chambers, Donovan Jackson, Carnell Tate. And that also, I think we were taking, by the end of the year, we're trying to reflect what has happened and what will happen. And Lathan Ransom was out for the year by the time he was number 16 there. So so that is what what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to predict who the best players will be over the course of this season? Or are we trying to say, this is where these players are right at this moment with the season ready to begin? What is this draft?
I think predicting what they will be this season is more fun, no? Like, because otherwise it's a little straightforward, I think, if we just say, like, who do we think are the best 22 right now? I like to leave a little room for maybe this guy's on the periphery, but I think he's going to be pretty important by the end of the year.
This is a Jeremiah Smith question. Is like, how high can you draft someone who's never played college football before? If we're projecting how good he will be, I think you can draft him very high.
Yeah.
If you're projecting how good he is right now, this very second, compared to Denzel, Burke, and Jack Sawyer, and Emeka Egbuka, and Trayvon Henderson, then I think he moves down the list. But we want to draft the young guys high. Yeah,
it's a Jeremiah Smith conversation, but I also think it's like a Caden McDonald conversation, right? It's like, if you think Caden McDonald, who I think played like 12 snaps last year, is going to be Ohio State's second best defensive tackle behind Tyleik Williams by the end of the year, should this draft reflect that?
I think it's okay for the preseason one to be more predictive and the ones in the season to be more reflective.
I agree.
Okay.
Just like the 8 people.
You taking Jeremiah 1? You taking...
No.
No. We tease my daughter, always makes a decision. You ask her a question, she gives a definitive answer, and then she says, actually, I actually think that'd be a good nickname for Jeremiah Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremiah actually Smith. Because you think you know about the guy, and then it's like, actually, he's even better than I thought.
Yeah, or like you think you're about to say something crazy, and it's like, actually, it's not that crazy.
Yeah. Jeremiah actually Smith will have 2,000 receiving yards this season. We also just did a segment on this on our Kings of the North preview show, not preview show, our latest show that went up on Tuesday, just talking about freshmen in the North. Dylan Raiola's in that conversation, one-time Ohio State commit. Kingston Viliamu Asa is in that conversation, a linebacker that Ohio State very much pursued. And Jeremiah Smith is at the top of that conversation for freshmen, just not just in the North, but in the country.
In the country. Yeah.
In the country.
Yeah, in the country.
We don't cover the whole country, but we acknowledge that it exists. Yes?
And we are aware that Jeremiah is the best of among the youngsters in the country.
We got him north. Has anyone said to him, thank you for coming north?
I thank them.
Oh.
I didn't do that.
On behalf of everyone in the top half of the country.
Yeah. Jeremiah Smith did his first media availability last week, and it was just 14 different ways of, do you know how good you are?
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I
was thinking about that. By the end at Big Ten Media Days, when Joe Paterno was there, it was just 14 different versions of, do you know how old you are? The last time, it's not funny. It's like, it was borderline versions of like, are you amazed that you're here? So that's, Jeremiah actually Smith. Let's do it. I'm going to give you the first pick.
Okay.
Because I will say, and I'm not saying this to disparage you, but you did have the first pick in one of the drafts last year after week 4, in fact, and you did not take Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1. You took Denzel Burke because Marv got slightly contained by Benjamin Morrison.
Did Denzel Burke have a better season than Marvin Harrison?
Wow. We're going there? You want to go there?
It's not that Marvin was bad. Marvin was very good last year.
If Denzel Burke had gone pro, would he have been the 3rd pick in the draft?
But it's not about that. It's about the season you had for Ohio State, right? It's not about draft stock.
I think it's about how good you are at your job, which goes back to the conversation that you and I both believed at times during the 2015 season that Cam Johnston was the best player on Ohio State's team because as a punter, he did his job better than anybody.
Yeah.
So I think it's about, you can't help what your job is, but you are in control of how well you do it. But I don't think stats are the entire reflection of how well you do your job.
You're also less in control of that when you're a receiver because someone has to get you the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody had to get Denzel Burke the ball.
They were, in fact, trying not to get him the
Trying
ball.
not to get him the ball. Yeah. Marv, Bill thinks you were the second best player in the middle of Ohio State season last year. I also did, I gave our tech subscribers the chance to rank these players. I gave them 20 players to rank because you can't rank more than 20. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time a little bit. Actually, not. No, I don't think I did have a hard time. I gave them 10 defensive players and 10 offensive players. Mm-hmm. The 10 defensive players I gave them were like the guys you would expect to start minus the second defensive tackle.
Got it.
And the offensive guys were the guys you would expect to start minus
right
guard, and tight end.
Because you had 2 running
with
backs.
Both running back.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a reasonable. So like Caden McDonald wasn't on the list I sent to the tech subscribers. You okay with that?
That's fine. Yeah. I bet some people wanted to vote him though. My favorite, I was looking at the text responses. You sent that out and you said like, rank these guys and arrange them in a thing. And somebody just responded, nah.
It is homework.
No, thank you.
Sometimes being on the tech subscription is like, Professor Doug sent me an assignment. I hate that guy. Why did I sign up for this class? Can't I just enjoy my team with, nope, you have homework. First pick to you.
Caleb Downs.
He was the overwhelming top choice for our tech subscribers. So this just reflects like your overall, right? You can be anywhere from 1 to 20. He's a 1.92, which means like practically everybody voted him first or second.
Yeah.
The number 2 player is 4.21. So that is a gigantic gap. He is overwhelmingly viewed as Ohio State's best player, and he shouldn't be here. He's only here because the greatest coach in college football history retired. Which, when we talk about it then in these terms, hey, Ohio State brought back almost everybody from this great defense. All these guys turned down the NFL. Hey, they have the best freshman receiver we've ever seen. Hey, they got this transfer running back and a transfer quarterback who are going to be huge for them. But the overwhelming number 1 guy on the team is Caleb Downs. Makes me think that we are underselling Caleb Downs because I don't know that people have said Caleb Downs every day, which when you couch it like this is like, why is this not the only thing people talk about?
Well, I think because a lot of that conversation gets driven by what we see in practice, right? And we've seen a decent amount. And I just don't know. Caleb Downs did have a pretty sick interception one of the days we were there. But it's not always real football, right? And I think that's where like a guy like Caleb Downs shines, when he can really come downhill and blow up a run play, when he can really get a sense like for his range as a guy in coverage and get like a bird's eye view, maybe of all the different ways that Jim Knowles kind of wants to move him around and weaponize him. I just don't think any of that really comes to light until the game starts. So we'll know in a few weeks, but it's just kind of hard to describe unless you want to go back and watch like all his Alabama stuff, which is like pretty fun to watch. I'd recommend you do so if you haven't done it already. It's a pretty good time. But we're just waiting to see it, right? We're waiting to see it in an Ohio State uniform, but I promise you, we will see it. He's number 1 for me. And I think number 1 for a lot of people, because I think there are a couple guys on this roster who I think you could put in the conversation for best at their position in the country. I don't think it's a question with Caleb Downs. He is the best safety in college football.
So I was at this recruiting seminar last week in Nashville, recruiting and personnel symposium, interviewed Mark Pantoni down there, put it on Kings of the North, talked about it on Kings of the North. But one of the things that came up in one of the seminars was what's the most difficult position to recruit? Oh. And there were multiple answers, but one of them was safety, because safety, that's what one of the people said, because it's such sort of an intelligence instinctual position. And I think that the traits that make you good at that, I think also apply to analyzing it in preseason practice when you aren't a coach.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like you're kind of, if receivers and corners are in one-on-one drills and a corner knocks the ball down, you're like, that guy.
Yeah.
And if the receiver catches it, you're like, that guy.
Yeah.
But the safety is sort of like lurking, and even you can't blow guys up. The offenses and defenses know each other, right? So there's less opportunity, I think. And to me, Caleb Downs is defensive CJ Stroud with how smart he is.
Love that.
But there are fewer opportunities to show off his greatest traits in settings like this.
Yeah, because he's not. I think the biggest thing is he's not blowing people up. But even you watch a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 period, and a corner makes a really good play, there's the chance that if you go and talk to the quarterback, it's like, why'd you throw that ball? Because if I threw the other one, Caleb Downs is right there.
Yes,
and I'm not throwing the ball near him, kind of stuff. So it's just you do have to watch that position, I think, a little more closely to truly appreciate it. But I also think Caleb Downs' game is like very loud, and you will notice it once the game starts. But it was a no brainer for me. Like I didn't really think twice about anybody else for the number one pick. Would you have picked the number one definitely if you had the first pick? Yeah.
All right, I'll take Denzel Burke second.
Okay.
And I think when we're having the conversation about could this guy be the best at his position, Will Johnson, justifiably at Michigan, is getting all the love. He was the highest rated guy in the video game, and apparently what a video game says is the thing that matters most in college football now. I wasn't aware of that. That's fine. You can play your video games, but the idea that like Quinshon Judkins has a great spin move in the video game, so he's going to win the Heisman is like, why are we? That's just giving into the robots.
They nerfed it though. I think they did an update and now it's not quite as effective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think Denzel Burke by the end of the year has a very solid chance to be in the conversation as the best cornerback in the country. If
I said I am not 100% certain that he's the best corner on the team, would I sound crazy?
No, because you can't. I mean, it depends whose juice you take in there. Are you saying that because of Jordan Hancock or because of Davidson Igbinosun?
Igbinosun.
Yeah. I mean, don't try to out Igbinosun me here. So like, let's not play that game. But I don't think I could take Davidson Igbinosun 2.
No, and I think I think Denzel Burke has earned going ahead of every other corner.
Would you think would you have taken him 2?
Yes, I would have. Yeah, but I'm just talking about like that conversation about the best in the country. And Davis Igbinosun would have to make I'm sure we'll talk about him here, but he'll have to make a pretty big jump to put himself, I think, even on like the edge of that conversation. Like Denzel Burke is in it with Will Johnson. I don't even know. There's a lot of good corners. Ricardo Hallman at Wisconsin's really good.
Yep.
Ben Morrison at Notre Dame's really good. Jabbar Muhammad at Oregon's really good. Oh, they're all in the North. How about that? There's probably some other ones in the South that are good too. Don't care about them. No, Denzel's very good. He's got a body of work that I think you have to respect when you're doing something like this. So I would have taken him second too. Yeah.
All right. Who you taking third?
I think it gets a little tricky. I will take. Give me Emeka Egbuka.
Okay. I will also say that Denzel Burke was second for our texters. Emeka Egbuka was third for our texters.
I kind of think Emeka Egbuka is going to be the engine of this offense.
You just want them to hand him the ball.
I would really want them to hand him the ball. And I think like I'm on record saying this is going to be a run first offense. I think they're going to be. I will stand by saying that I think Ohio State's going to lead the Power 5 in rushing this year. But I think Emeka Egbuka is a part of that. And then I think he's the beneficiary of it when they're throwing the ball too. I just think like provided he's healthy, right, knock on wood, he hasn't been able to be that the last like year and a half or so. But like I saw like a little bit of like a sparkle in Chip Kelly's eye too when he was talking about Emeka Egbuka after the spring game.
Sparkle searching.
And just in a way that makes me think like he's gonna try to kind of build this thing around Emeka's versatility. So I think he's gonna get the ball a lot and be the most important guy on this offense.
I think that wasn't that hard to pick him third.
Yeah.
I think now it's difficult.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah.
Can I stretch a little bit for a guy?
Absolutely.
So now I think we're officially in the range of very good football players.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can throw him in a pot. I'm going to pick this guy because I think this guy has upside left. Where the position he plays, the ability that he's shown, how important I think he can be, although they might take him off the field. It's going to break my heart.
They're not going to. Don't worry about it.
I'll take Jordan Hancock fourth.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep.
That's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable because I mean, will they take him off the field when it's 3rd and 2 from the 3-yard line trying to score a touchdown? Probably, but balls in the middle of the field. I don't think Jordan Hancock is coming off the field. I know like he's the guy that I think is interchangeable when Jim Knowles talks about playing more of a 4-3 look, but I don't know how often that's going to come up during the season. So I'm not worried about Jordan Hancock playing as much as he needs to play. Okay. At least not in a way that would like impact me not picking him this high. Cause I think he's a top like 7 player on this team at worst. I don't know that I would have gone here immediately, but he is the modern defensive back, right? We've talked about that. And I think I might have said the last time we talked about it, like he kind of ties the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the rug.
This seems important. All right.
Yeah.
Who are you taking fifth?
Give me Jack Sawyer.
Okay. Is the Ohio State beat united in taking Jack Sawyer over JT Tuimoloau in a situation like this?
I think we have gotten to that point. Yeah.
Upside, like still again, like fourth year guy has shown it, but upside remaining.
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's funny. Everyone, and I think it's the right point of view, right? Sort of like dismiss what happened in the bowl game, except for Jack having 3 sacks in that game against like Missouri's offensive line was good. That was I believe a Joe Moore, award winning or award finalist offensive line, and Jack kind of toyed with them all game. So I think it was obviously JT's had the couple Penn State performances, but I think Jack has probably been a little better, or at least like a touch more productive. He has led the team in sacks, I think, like the last 2 years. It's not a high number, but he's been the leader. So I think it's that, and being a little more optimistic, maybe that he can break through for something approaching double-digit sacks, maybe a little better than JT can, but it's probably, I don't know, maybe it's closer to 50-50 than I'm giving it credit for.
Jordan Hancock taken 4th by me, 7th for our texters. Jack Sawyer taken 5th by you, 5th for our texters.
Okay.
So I'll take a guy now who I think is more your guy, but I think it's time for him to go, and it's Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, he is definitely my guy.
Are we also united in Judkins over Henderson when it comes to something like this, even like acknowledging you've got to lean one way or the other in a split? Is it definitely Judkins?
My lean is Judkins. Yeah. And again, like it's not when I say like what I said about even Marvin Denzel or Davison and Denzel, or now with Quinshon and Trey, it's not that I think the other guy stinks, right? They're all good. It's who I think will ultimately play the larger role. And I think that will be Quinshon. I just think he's shown himself to be a more durable, physical running back than Travion has. And I actually think it's great for Travion that he kind of doesn't have to be that, hopefully, for Ohio State this year, that he can get maybe 12 to 15 touches a week running and catching the ball and preserve himself a little bit. And Quinshon can be a little more of the workhorse back for this team. I think that's the dynamic.
Okay. 7th pick to you.
7th pick to me. I think it is Jeremiah Smith time.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm almost surprised he didn't go in the top 5.
I think I think we're showing a little bit of restraint here by not taking him higher. We did have our conversation on KOTN, like what exactly is this going to look like for him? Is he going to be a 1,000-yard receiver? Is he going to be Ohio State's leading receiver? I don't think he is. I think Emeka Egbuka is going to be this team's leading receiver, clearly. But I think Jeremiah is very heavily involved in this offense. We'll have the best freshman season we've seen from Ohio State receiver. I think we need to maybe catalog some of the best freshman seasons, period, we've seen at Ohio State, so we sort of have that as a comparison. Maybe it's Maurice Claret, unless I'm forgetting something more obvious. I think Jeremiah has the chance to rise to that level, but I don't know that I would predict him definitely doing it with Emeka still on the roster, but he's still going to be awesome. I think he's still going to be, if you take quarterback out of the equation, definitely they're one of their top 3 most important offensive players.
So we were looking for comparisons on the KOTN show. Xavier Worthy in 2021 had 62 catches for 981 yards and 12 touchdowns as a true freshman at Texas, but Texas was bad that year.
Mm-hmm.
Losing record, Sark's first year. Casey Thompson was the quarterback like it was. So it's a very different situation than Jeremiah. And I do think statistically, I don't know that we'll get the full picture of the impact because Will Howard's not CJ Stroud. They are going to run the ball. I think they might just like lean on people, get leads, especially in the first half of the season, get leads and smother people and like not even be throwing the ball that much in the second half of games. So I think
I wonder that we were talking about this on the Rooster Show on Monday. Will that actually be the reality, or because they have 5 quarterbacks, so they all kind of want to develop, will they still be throwing the ball late in games, even if the starters aren't in there? And then if you're doing that, is Jeremiah still out there because he's a freshman?
Wow. That's like 6 questions. I think, do you want to risk Jeremiah Smith in garbage time?
No, I think you treat him like you treat Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they might throw the ball more later in games that are blowouts, but I don't think Jeremiah's out there when they're doing it.
Yeah. So statistically, we'll have to see. I think 1,000-yard season for him, we can play this clip when it's wrong, like might be difficult. Now, again, they might play 15 games. So you play 15 games, it's like, all right, well, can you average like 65 yards a game? That's not necessarily too much to ask, but I don't know that he's statistically going to take the nation by storm. But I think when you watch him play, people might be saying, holy, I think it'll be a continuation of the Marvin Harrison Jr. conversation. It was really more of a conversation for Marv when he was a sophomore, right? That people were almost anticipating how good he was going to be as a junior. And then I think he met that. I don't know that he exceeded that, again, because of the quarterback play and that kind of thing. But when Joel Klatt's coming in and saying Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in college football, regardless of position, right?
Yeah.
I think we might be getting into a world where, okay, does it matter if he has 700 or 900 or 1,100 receiving yards? I think we might have people saying, I've never seen a freshman like this in college football.
Yeah, I think we will too. It doesn't. It can be like a play week to week, right? You can have games where he has one catch for 57 yards and a touchdown, but it's the best 57-yard touchdown you've ever seen, and I think that'll be enough to captivate people.
All right, I'll take my guy. I'll take Davison Igbinosun 8.
It's a good pick. So that's a value pick, as I like to say.
And also maybe too high, because now guys are starting to fall. But we've talked about it. Has every trait that the NFL wants, but I think is going to be a guy that's going to have an opportunity to show how good he is, because I think people will not throw at Denzel Burke. And we're going to see Davison Igbinosun knocking passes down. We're going to see him blowing receivers up the minute they catch the ball. We're going to see him talking trash. We're going to see him being long and being a problem. So I just think he has a chance to. This is not for this audience, because this audience knows it. But I think for the average college football fan, he's like, oh yeah, Ohio State, Caleb Downs, and I heard of Denzel Burke, whatever. Like, I think he could be a revelation.
Yeah, I think he will too. He's going to get a lot of action, I think too. He got thrown at the most last year. I think he'll get thrown at the most this year.
Yes,
but I think this year, well, that will lead to kind of like more ball production for him, I think. And he's also an incredible tackler, which is like not a thing that maybe people talk enough about throughout the course of the season, right? But like is a thing that will get him drafted probably higher than you're envisioning right now. Yeah.
All right. So I'm glad that you don't see it as a reach.
I don't see it as a reach. I think there were a few guys you could go with there, and Davison is a reasonable pick among that bunch.
The Texters had him 11th. I took him 8th. So you take him 9. And also, by the way, the Texters even more chilled out than we were about Jeremiah Smith. You took him 7th. The Texters had him 9th. So congrats to the Texters for being relaxed.
Yeah, good job. I am torn between 2 defensive linemen.
Yep.
And I guess I will go off of last season's performance, and I will take Tyleik Williams.
Okay. So now you're going to make me be a crazy person. Because and we can't disrespect. Like, we have to tip the cap to Tyleik Williams and put him in the top 10 after we had him 22nd last year, and he finished 3rd. I mean, yeah, this is remarkable about where this team is right now. The players that we had ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 4th when we did this after week 11 last year are all on the team, and the first one of them just got picked.
Oh.
And it is because it is not that we think they are worse. It is because we think the talent around them has just a chance to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think those guys will be better too, but it's better relative to the rest of the roster, right? I just think that this roster is significantly better than it was last year, even though a lot of the faces are the same. Names and faces are the same. I just think, like, to a man, there's been some serious improvement there. And Tyleik, for me, I think if we poke around like preseason All-American stuff, the 2 names from Ohio State you see the most are Caleb Downs and Tyleik Williams.
Yeah.
So like I think Tyleik is deserving of this. I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but just like sort of knowing how Tyleik seemed to like kind of approach things earlier in his career, I could see it being a challenge for him to like really build off of last year. But there's a lot at stake if he does, right? You're talking about a guy with incredible athleticism that if he stacks another year on top of what he had last year, he's going to be pretty highly thought of in draft conversations. So I hope that he does. I hope that he sustains that momentum for his sake, because there's going to be a big payday at the end if he does. But if you wanted to take another player ahead of him, I don't think I would argue much against it. But I think he earned it based off last year to be a top 10 guy.
All right, I'll take JT Tuimoloau just so we're not the show that didn't draft him in the top 10.
Yeah, when he's like the 9th pick in the draft.
Yeah. He went lower in the Kings of Columbus draft than he did in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
That would be wild. But now you've also boxed us in for an also crazy reality. So I hope you take the guy at 11 that I think you have to take. Otherwise, we're even in worse shape than I realized.
Take the guy at 11 that we need to take.
Yeah. For our own good.
Is he on offense?
Nope.
Okay, then is it Sonny Styles?
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to take him?
Yeah.
Because we took Sonny Styles 11th last year.
Yeah.
When he had kind of never really played before.
Well, now he's switching positions, so it's not unreasonable to reset a little bit, right? He's going to be really good at
He's going to be really good. He's switching positions to the position that everybody has always wanted him to play anyway.
Right.
So it's like, oh, wow, what happened? Did Sonny Styles get worse? It's like, no, everyone still loves him.
He sure didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
James Laurinaitis, when we talked to him last week, I think was singing a little bit of a different tune about Sonny than he was in the spring. And it's not that he was saying anything bad about Sonny, but it's just a lot of this is different. He's got some stuff to figure out. He's closer to the ball. Things happen faster. And then now it was he's got it.
Okay.
He's figured out the footwork stuff. He's not a finished product, but he's running with the ones that will every time we've been out there for a reason. I think he has taken to this position quite well and will be very productive as this team's well linebacker.
Tyleik Williams, 9th for us, 10th for the Texters. JT Tuimoloau, 10th for us, 8th for the Texters. Sonny Styles, 11th for us, 12th for the Texters. So again, people being chill. Also very hard to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I will say positions 7 through 11 were within decimals of each other. Hancock, Tuimoloau, Smith, Williams, Igbinosun. It's how can you even compare those players?
Yeah.
It's how would you rank JT Tuimoloau to Jeremiah Smith? It's it's completely different worlds in age, responsibilities, position, and yet that's what we're doing here at Ohio State, which also means now we're going to be late on a guy who was 4th on our list last year after week 11, who was 6th for the Texters and is 12th for us, and it's Travion Henderson. And I think we can defend why he's 12th for us, that we think it's smart football, workload. If Quinshon Judkins wasn't here, I think Travion would be the same person, but would be higher on our list.
Yeah, but wouldn't you also feel a little worried about that too, given his durability issues, right? It was just, again, back to my point of this is an excellent spot for Travion to be in. I think I don't know if he'll rush for as many yards as he did cumulatively as a true freshman. I think this will be the best we see from Travion Henderson over the course of an entire season because of the situation that he's in. I think he is set up to play his best football as a Buckeye.
And it hurts him only in the Kings of Columbus draft.
That's right. Yes.
It will not hurt him in the NFL.
No.
It will help him in the NFL, right? Because he won't be worn down by getting 300 carries this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he will have an opportunity to show his best traits. And nobody will hold it against him that he split time with Quinshon Judkins. So it's just a tough spot, but I think it is mostly an acknowledgement of the depth of talent of Ohio State generally, and in the running back room, that he has gone from 4th to 12th on our list. He was 9th at the beginning of the season last year. So, all right, but that was the right spot for him though, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So who you taking 13?
Can I reach? Well, I don't know.
You can take Caden McDonald now? So this is the other thing. I think people kind of know this. I've been out and about. I'm more Kings of the North now, and I have not been at as many Ohio State practices. I went to a Penn State practice. I went to a Cincinnati practice. I went to Nashville for a recruiting symposium for 3 days. So those are.
So you want to draft Abdul Carter and Mark Pantoni? Put them on this list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Joe Royer, who's going to explode at Cincinnati this year. And Kerry Combs, who I had a nice conversation with. Got to see Kerry Combs. And he was yelling at people.
Nice. Did he seem happy? In a good spot?
He seemed the same.
Okay.
Which is
full of energy.
He was yelling at somebody in practice that was fine, do it your way. I don't know what I'm talking about. Do it however you want to do it. And I was like, it's good to be around Kerry again. He remains an excellent position coach.
Yeah.
So I am not as locked in on every little bit of the nitty gritty. So if you take Caden McDonald here, I'm just going to throw up my arms and be like, this is not a sea that I am currently swimming in. And I certainly am not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I have not been at the practices in a way to absorb the growth of guys who haven't played a ton in the past. So do what you got to do.
I am not taking
Okay.
Caden McDonald. I'm taking Josh Simmons,
Okay.
who I think is now at the position of being this team's best offensive lineman. I think he might be in the conversation by the middle of the season for best tackle in the Big Ten. And that's a tough competition. There's some really good tackles in the Big Ten. I am perhaps drinking a little too much of the Josh Simmons Kool-Aid that is out there, but
who's making that Kool-Aid?
There's draft people making the Kool-Aid. Jack Sawyer's making a little bit of the Kool-Aid. I think Ryan Day's making a little bit of the Kool-Aid. Like, everyone has been pretty glowing in their assessments of where Josh Simmons is. And
I will say, I just want to make it clear, when I doubted Josh Simmons a year ago, they thought his name was Jimmy for a while.
They still call him Jimmy.
They do?
Yeah.
That was like a whole press conference of like, he's Jimmy. And then like the next press conference came in, it's like, he's actually not Jimmy. He's Josh. But now he's Jimmy again?
I thought that, I think the preference is that we do not call him that. But we were at practice and they were going through drills, and Mike Seleni, who's Justin Fry's assistant, was definitely calling him Jimmy Simmons.
Okay. Because you can't have two Joshes when you're at practice.
And there's three Joshes. There's Josh Simmons, there's Josh Fryer, and there's Josh Padilla. So I think that Josh Simmons is Jimmy. I think Josh Fryer is Josh, and Josh Padilla is Dilla.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think we may get to the point where Josh Simmons looks across the media throng and says, everybody here can call me Jimmy except that guy.
You can call me sir.
You can, yeah. So I would not have taken him this high. The texters had him 15th, though. You're taking him 13th. And you think so? He is I
think that's me, by the way. That's me influencing.
Well, I mean, this is one of those. It's like, oh, what do the texters think? It's like, I don't know. They get their information from us.
Yeah.
And so
if I'm wrong, I'll own that. You can deflect and put the blame on me if you are wrong as a texter.
Do you think Josh Simmons will get drafted higher than Donovan Jackson?
Yes.
Do you think Josh Simmons will go? Well,
that was too definitive of a yes. Maybe. I think right now I would say no, but I'm a maybe. And I thought it was nuts last year when Berm said he thought Josh Simmons is going to be like a day 2 pick. And now I was like, yeah, he's definitely going to be a day 2 pick. It's a matter of, can he work himself to being a first rounder?
I have really missed a lot. I feel this makes me feel like I got shot into a rocket ship. And I came back and like 3 years had passed, and it's like, oh, Josh Simmons is an all pro, and I'm still like, he's a San Diego State guy.
I'm definitely a little hot on it. Like I'm aware that I'm hot.
You're aware?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to stop, but I'm aware.
Okay. I'm very curious where you are on the entire offensive line. I might just pass on every possible offensive line pick because I want to see where you think these guys are. I'll take Will Howard 14th based on the way people have been talking about him in the last couple weeks and the progress it appears his teammates believe he has made. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's some momentum there, I think. Even coming out of the scrimmage on Saturday, did not hear a whole lot, but you heard that the offense looked pretty good and Will had another good day. We're definitely trending toward Will being named the starting quarterback this week. I would be shocked if we talk to Ryan Day on Thursday and he does not name Will Howard the starting quarterback. Like, at that point, it's shenanigans. And I think we'll ask what's up with the shenanigans if that's the case. He's better. Like it wasn't, I said this the other day on the daily, one of the dailies, where when a guy is as old as Will is and has played as much football as he has played, I think it's a safe assumption that he just is who he is, right? He is who he has been. I think he will be something better than that. I don't think he's going to go take college football by storm necessarily, but if I thought he was like an above average college quarterback, he might be a good college quarterback for Ohio State this year, which is an improvement off with the expectations I had a couple months ago.
So if you're tracking how to feel about the quarterback situation, we took Kyle McCord 17th last year. So a 3-spot rise for the Ohio State quarterback. Wonder where Julian Sand will go next year.
Wonder where Julian Sand will go this year.
I am holding.
Kidding. We're not going to draft him.
Don't make promises that you can't be sure we're going to keep. Will you let us do an entire show on Arch Manning versus Julian Sand week 1 of 2025? When can we do that show?
In like 6 weeks when Ohio State has a bye week.
Okay. That's when we'll do it. Arch versus Julian. I'm excited. 15th, who you taking?
No, you just won. Sorry. I will take I'll take Lathan Ransom.
I think that's the right pick.
Who is he like? Is he underrated? I don't know the right way to just very solid at his job.
Well, he got hurt.
Yeah.
And then the best safety in the country transferred in. And
he fell down against Georgia, right? I get it.
I think it's understandable why he is not the first name on the tip of everyone's tongue, but the guy's a pretty good football player.
Yeah, and would be Caleb Downs takes up a lot of oxygen, right? And deservedly so. So Lathan Ransom, for a guy who's played a lot here and is now going to be a third-year starter, is flying under the radar a little bit, but I think he's going to be pretty productive too. Obviously I think Caleb Downs will be more productive, but I think both those guys are going to be the two that Jim Knowles leans on. When Jim Knowles talks about wanting to be more aggressive and multiple and disguise more out, but without subbing out personnel, without deviating much from the normal 4-2-5, I think Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs are kind of the guys that make that go. So Lathan is going to be he has been in a very important part of this defense and will continue to be that.
Josh Simmons, you took him 13th. The Texans had him 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Will Howard, I took him 14th. The Texans had him 16th. Lathan Ransom, you took him 15th. The Texans had him 14th. So we're all in the right range here. I do think for Lathan Ransom, it's he had Sonny Styles was dancing around in the safety room last year. And it was sort of every time you saw Lathan Ransom, it was what's it like to play with Sonny Styles? Right. And now they moved Sonny Styles to a different position. And now it's what's it like to play with Caleb Downs?
Yeah.
And he's not just make 90 tackles and be a 4th-round pick and a super important part of the best defense in the country and get this much respect.
I'm gonna ask Caleb Downs about Lathan Ransom.
There you go.
Because I think we'll get a very good answer.
I bet you we will too.
Yeah.
All right. Can I take, because I want to leave offensive lineman for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I take Cody Simon?
I think you can, and I think you should.
Quarterback of the defense, heartbeat of the defense.
But also
going to be on the field a lot.
I think
and also was a top 100 recruit. It's not, he's more athletic than Tommy Eichenberg, right?
There's some stuff if you walk around the Woody and look at some of their testing stuff and you look at 10-yard splits and 3-cone and shuttle times, Cody Simon is pretty high up on a lot of those lists. More athletic than I think people realize because he is kind of built more like an old school linebacker, I guess. He's not built he's not 6'4", 250, right? But he's going to play probably every meaningful snap for this defense. Arvell Reese is emerging a little bit at Mike linebacker. I think not in a way that's threatening to Cody Simon's starting job, but in a way where maybe they want to get Arvell on the field a little more at times. So maybe that's good for Cody that he doesn't have to play every single snap, but Cody's going to be out there, I think.
Off the field on passing downs, though? Were we not discussing a CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles are your two linebackers on 3rd and 11?
Yeah, I could see that. But
also, which is not doesn't mean you're not good.
Yeah.
Also, they could just Velcro Arvell Reese to Cody Simon for the entire year and say, Arvell Reese, you're a tremendously talented football player. Follow this guy and do everything he does. And a year from now, you can be him.
Yeah.
I like when things like that happen. 3-legged race through life.
I think that Arvell Reese, I've talked a lot about Arvell this week, so I apologize for doing it again, but I'm really excited about him. I think he is further along in his development, particularly as a Mike linebacker, than I certainly expected him to be. I don't know if he's ready to handle quite all of it. So even if he's ready to handle a little bit of it, and he gets to kind of grow along this season with Cody Simon, I think they'll be really good for him in the long run.
But you're in for Jim Knowles and James Laurinaitis. All of a sudden, it's the 4th series of the game. The first team defense is still out there, and Arvell Reese is at middle linebacker.
I would like to see that. Yes. Because they did not do that enough. They didn't do it at all with CJ Hicks or Gabe Powers. And here we are, where both these guys going to be in their 3rd year. Don't make that same mistake twice.
Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Wonder what that's like. All right. So Cody Simon, 16th. You are up. Cody Simon was 17th for the tech subscribers, by the way. Who you taking 17?
I am taking Carnell Tate.
Okay.
Which this feels low for him.
He was 13th for the Texters.
Yeah.
But he's in this is it's reasonable why he fell. Because he's not the hot new freshman. He's not the experienced 1,000-yard receiver. He's in between both of those. And he's actually in between them in a good way, but he's in between them in a way that makes you go lower in this draft.
Yeah, but he has a ton of confidence. We talked to him last week. He was like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to ball. I'm going to get 1,000 yards. Like I'm ready for this. And we probably didn't talk enough about the fact that he did break through as a true freshman a little bit to play fairly significant snaps. Part of that was because of injury. So there was opportunity there for him, but there were a lot of young, talented receivers in that room. And he was the one who emerged ahead of all of them to do that. So I think he's poised for like that typical sophomore breakout that we have seen from receivers in the past. It's just a matter of he's going to do that while there's a super talented senior ahead of him and maybe the best freshman we'll have seen behind him. So it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but I still think he's going to be really good.
Is there a chance Carnell Tate has more receiving yards than Jeremiah Smith?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. So I think it's going to be a really good battle on the track, actually, back and forth.
Yeah. We'll do, I think, our last show on Kings of Columbus before the season starts. I think will be Ohio State predictions, and we'll throw some over-under numbers out there. We'll throw them at the texters, and we'll bring them ourselves and like establish like what's our over-under. Or sometimes you just like say, I think Carnell Tate's going to have 58 receptions for 776 yards.
Yeah.
And it's fun to do that and see how close you are.
Yeah. So where were the textures on Tate again?
So they were higher than Tate than we were. They had him 13th. We took him 17th.
So 4 spots between Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate for them?
Yes.
9 to 13?
9 to 13. Yeah. And for us, it was 10 spots, 7 to 10, 7 to 17.
I think that in terms of the gap, I think the textures will be right.
Yeah. Can I take Donovan Jackson? Even though I said I wasn't going to take offensive lineman?
You can. I
took him 3rd in this preseason draft a year ago.
If you're going to take a lineman, I think he's the right one to take.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to take one next.
So I think it's appropriate to have 2 of their top 18 players be offensive linemen. So I will take Donovan Jackson.
You would hope anyway. The 2 of their top 18 players are offensive linemen.
He also finished 18th in the actual with the texters. So we are in agreement that Donovan Jackson is the 18th best player on Ohio State's team as a 3rd-year former 5-star recruit.
We thought going into last season, like unequivocally their best offensive lineman.
How much will he be helped by playing next to a veteran center instead of a first-time center?
I think he'll be helped tremendously. I do feel for him that he is playing next to his 3rd different center in 3 years. You would like some more continuity there, but at least he has the continuity at left tackle with Josh Simmons. I think that's a major deal for both those guys. That left side of the offensive line and now have a full year under the belt, I think is going to bring out more for both of those guys. And I think Donovan has been a more than solid offensive lineman for Ohio State. I think given his recruiting pedigree, you could argue that maybe he should have shown a little more to this point. So we'll see if he does that this year. But if he is sort of what he's always been, that's still like a good, serviceable, definitely offensive lineman.
I will say it's just guys make decisions and you have to make a decision for yourself. Luke Whippler is in the wrong timeline.
Yeah. He got hurt the other day too.
He is in the, I went pro, I got picked in the 6th round. My college team really could have used me. And now in year 2, he broke his ankle. And I think he's out for at least a long time because the Browns traded for another backup center. He was in line to be the Browns backup center. And it's just the version of this world. Not that he would be here now, but I think there's a separate timeline where NIL is more robust. They're able to give Luke Whippler the kind of money that helps a lot of guys stay in college right now. Luke Whippler can make a decision for his career and his family and his financial future that can involve staying at Ohio State and that still being smart. And that one way or another, they blocked the Michigan guy on the final Kyle McCord throw. And like, none of this happens.
It ties a lot together for them. Think about the world they were in. 2 brand new tackles, a brand new center who was a redshirt freshman who had never played, and a brand new starting quarterback. Like, who's looking out there at the defense and making the right call?
Yeah.
Luke Whippler is if he's there, right? I think it changes
that timeline.
I'm not saying they win a national championship if Luke Whippler comes back, but I think it's a different season if Luke Whippler comes back.
I'm not saying that it changes the entire course of the Michigan football program.
Yeah.
But actually, we are saying that. Yeah. So anyway, we think Donovan Jackson will just be helped. And just by having Josh Simmons in year 2 instead of Josh Simmons in year 1. What Donovan Jackson was between last year, he's in a much more comfortable situation now. Yeah. All right, so that's 18. Who are you taking 19?
19, I will take. Now I think you can get a little funky. I am probably a little higher on this guy than I sense a decent chunk of the fan base is, but I will take Josh Fryer. I'll stay on the offensive line.
Okay. You are definitely higher on Simmons than you are on Fryer.
Yes.
Ceiling on Simmons, do you think Fryer has any higher floor? Or do you think the way Simmons is played, like his floor is just as high too?
I think now at this point, Simmons' floor is higher and his ceiling is significantly higher. Yeah.
Okay. So like you all good at right tackle? Or
yeah, I feel decent about it. I think Josh has gotten better. I was talking to some people at practice the other day, just like about how not Josh himself, but kind of people around him, just like how he felt about last year, the kind of work that he put in, just like studying a lot, like really trying to hone in on the areas where he was deficient. I think a lot of that is pass protection, and it's like it's technique, but it's also I think just kind of figuring out how guys want to attack him, how defenses want to attack him. So I think he's in a better place with all of that. We'll see when the game starts, but I thought his season last year was probably a little better than people might want to say, just because the end was kind of rough.
Yeah.
But I thought there was enough good in there to make me believe that he can take a little bit of a step forward last year. He was first team All Big Ten. Now it was from the media, who I think, and when you're trying to pick offensive linemen are less discerning than coaches are. He was a third team, I think, by the coaches. So that's a fairly big gap, difference of opinion, but still on that list nonetheless, right? So he wasn't a total abomination at right tackle last year. He needs to be better than he was last year, and I think he will be a little better.
So I will now take at 20th the last guy that I sent to the Texters as an option, because you could only send 20 options.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Fryer was 19th for the Texters, and Seth McLaughlin was 20th.
Okay.
Starting center. Is this an okay pick, or was I wrong? He's the starting center for Ohio State.
He's a starting
center. Was a starting center for a playoff team last year.
And last year was a little rough at times, clearly.
Was it rough before the snapping issues against Michigan, or was it just the snapping issues against Michigan?
I think that the snapping issues against Michigan, it was not a one game thing.
Okay. They
were not as pervasive, I think, throughout the season, but they were there. And I just think overall, the season was not as good as it was 2 years prior to that. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, like his role changed a little bit too. He had different guards around him last year, if I'm not mistaken. Good ones, but different ones. And I think a quarterback in Jalen Milroe, I think guys who generally like to kind of like move around and scramble a little bit like Jalen Milroe does, make life a little more difficult on offensive linemen because you don't know where he is all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take any of the blame off Seth McLaughlin because it's about him at the end of the day. So he has to be better than he was last year. But I think that he will be. I saw 2 bad snaps in camp. I haven't seen like a ton of them. I haven't seen one every day or anything like that. That obviously has to be clean. I think he's like moving guys pretty well. He's pretty stout. He's smart. And I think Ohio State's going to be much better off with that kind of experience at center than they were last year.
Oh, good for me.
Yeah.
Good pick at 20 then.
Yeah.
All right. Last 2. So we've run through everybody I sent to the Texters. Again, what we would have left then is right guard, any tight ends, second defensive tackle, and then anybody else who maybe isn't exactly a sure thing starter right now.
I will go with CJ Hicks.
Yeah.
I think that's the pick. I think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to start. I think your starting linebackers are definitely Cody Simon and Sonny Styles. I think both those guys play a decent amount more sort of total snap counts than CJ Hicks will, but CJ Hicks will be out there. I think he'll be situational. I think he'll be productive. I'm curious if they do like some third down pass rush stuff with him. I hope that they do. We'll see. Yeah. But he's going to play. I don't think it's going to be another year of CJ Hicks just kind of riding the pine and playing special teams and only getting on the field during blowouts. But I do think we're at the point where it's more than likely going to be Sonny Styles, who's a starting middle linebacker.
All right. So I'll give you the guys that I'm considering. Let me run through this first. There's no point in picking a right guard because we don't know for sure who the right guard's going to be, right?
I agree with that.
Is Tegra Shabola the leader in your mind?
I've been saying that, but I probably have been saying it a little too strongly just because I don't know that we've seen enough to definitely say that. I think like we watched 5 practices and Carson Hinsman wasn't out there for 2 of them because he was sick. So he's probably in it more than I've been leading people on. So I would say that it's still up in the air.
Okay. Who's the second best defensive tackle on this team?
Ty Hamilton's been pretty solid. I think like Caden McDonald and Jason Moore as young guys have higher ceilings than Ty Hamilton, but definitely at this point, I think you'd have to say lower floors too, just because they haven't played and there's probably more volatility with the young guy. So Ty's a very solid player. I would say he's number 2 right now, but like watch out for Caden McDonald and Jason Moore.
Ty Hamilton 19th on our week 11 list a year ago. Who's the best tight end on this team?
No idea.
Do they have an idea? Like they don't know either. It might be G. Scott, it might be Jelani Thurman, it might be Will Kazmarek, but no one's grabbed it entirely.
Yeah, I think like when Kate Stover was here, the answer to who's your best receiver and who's your best blocker in the room was Kate Stover. And now I think the answer to both those questions is a different guy. So now they got to prioritize, I guess, what skill set they'd rather have.
Who's the best receiver? Thurman?
I think it's probably G. Only like Jelani's not done it. Jelani caught 2 passes last year. Not that G's been all that prolific, but with his receiver background and like experience in the offense, I would say it's him. But like Jelani's got the highest ceiling as a receiver in the room, I would say.
But Kazmarek's the best blocker?
I think Kazmarek is perhaps by a decent margin the best blocker.
That's why
he's pretty good blocking tight end at Ohio University.
So they're going to want to play him. Are they going to play a 6th offensive lineman? Just put a tight end number on a guy and run the ball.
Yeah, but he
crazy.
He can catch and run. Like he's a good athlete. He's not like a 290-pound glorified tackle.
All right. So I don't feel particularly to draft any of those people.
Mm-hmm.
If I was just I probably would take Ty Hamilton if I was going to take somebody from that group.
Yeah.
Right. But instead, I want to take either an upside dude that I think will matter on the defense, or I want to take the guy. I want to be the guy who took the guy who wound up being the starting quarterback in the national championship game by hook or by crook. But I'm not going to take Julian Sand.
Okay.
But I will take Jermaine Matthews.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know exactly what Jermaine's going to do this year. He's like been playing some nickel. He's been playing some outside. He's definitely their third like outside cornerback.
Yep.
I don't know that he's the number 2 nickel. I actually think that's probably Lorenzo Styles.
Okay.
But Jermaine's going to play.
Can we go dime a little bit every now and then? Put a third outside corner there, or maybe we just need to give.
They've done it. They've done 6 DBs occasionally, and it's like when they've done it in the past, it's been no offense, Cam Martinez. And last year they did it with freshman Malik Hartford, who didn't turn his head around, and JJ McCarthy threw a touchdown. I like Jermaine Matthews being that guy a whole lot more, right? So I think he's that guy when they decide to put 6 DBs on the field. I just don't know how often they'll do it, but I think you'll see. Not rotation necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think you asked about Arvell Reese. It's like it's the 4th drive of the game. The game is still somewhat in the balance. Let's give Denzel Burke a rest here and give Jermaine Matthews out there.
But defensively, I think we need Denzel and Davison to get to the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to play 75 snaps every game, even in competitive games. We trust Jermaine Matthews. Let's throw him out there.
Yeah. And they definitely trust him.
So, okay. So I'll take Jermaine Matthews there. All right. This is our full rundown. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on the ticker on the bottom. Caleb Downs, Denzel Burke, Emeka Egbuka, Jordan Hancock, Jack Sawyer, Quinshon Judkins, Jeremiah Smith, Davison Igbinosun, Tyleik Williams, JT Tuimoloau, Sonny Styles, Trevion Henderson, Josh Simmons, Will Howard, Lathan Ransom, Cody Simon, Carnell Tate, Donovan Jackson, Josh Fryer, Seth McLaughlin, CJ Hicks, and Jermaine Matthews. It feels like to me there was maybe a line maybe after Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
Trevion Henderson at 12. Like Trevion Henderson is a known quantity.
Yeah.
We know what is up. That is like 12 guys. Downs, Burke, Egbuka, Hancock, Sawyer, Judkins, Smith, Igbinosun, Williams, Tuimoloau, Styles, Henderson. We know we have a freshman receiver in there, but like those dudes are all going to ball out.
Yeah.
And then I think when we get to Josh Simmons, Will Howard, Donovan Jackson, you're a little bit more into like, well, I think like there's potential there, but they're less of a sure thing. That's 12 ballers to start things off.
Those are 12 guys that anyone on the street who's a college football fan who knows like even the slightest thing about Ohio State, I think would name first.
And if you were saying like this is the core, this guy is part of the core of our team.
Yeah.
I think we're there. I think we're right with that list, and they, as a result, are in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Yeah, can I? There was one guy who I thought about drafting who I didn't.
Yep,
Mitchell Melton. I actually think he's going to play this year.
Okay.
We've talked about him a lot. I just think he obviously hurt, and then last year, while available, I just don't think was quite ready to play all that much. I think he's too good of a pass rusher to leave off the field. So I think he's going to play some. Not like pure rotation at defensive end, but more than I think perhaps just like spelling Jack and JT occasionally.
Okay.
So he's what I'm looking out for.
All right, that's our draft of the best 22 Buckeyes. It's a check for us. It's a check for you. And it helps to look back and think that at the beginning of last year, we thought Donovan Jackson was their third best player and Tyleik Williams was their 22nd best player. Because helps you remember how far Tyleik came. And it helps you remember like how good Donovan Jackson could still be if he gets back to the way he was perceived, a year ago. So that matters. What also matters is what you're watching, what you eat, and what you're thinking. And we'll do that next on Kings of Columbus. Back on Kings of Columbus, Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis together. What you watching? I finished recently what I believe to be the most frustrating, disappointing, angering pop culture experience of my recent lifetime that I can remember.
Okay.
And it was the full third season of The Bear.
Oh.
And it was that thing that was good that got so up its own butt. I think I already talked about it. I'm talking about it again because you kept waiting for it to get good. And it is just self-congratulatory, staring at itself in the mirror, completely forgetting about the audience, not trying to entertain anybody anymore. This was a show that was like nominated in the Emmys as a comedy. My wife and I are just screaming at the TV, like, where's the comedy? And if something's horrible, I've abandoned things before. It's like, well, this is horrible. But when something is good and then gets horrible, you're reluctant to leave it. So you slog through it, which is why it was the worst experience, because I got to the point at the end, well, things were happening in people's lives. And I was just rooting for a meteor to hit the restaurant and kill every character. And I was like, I wonder what the resolution of this season would be. And if it's not every character dying, I'm disappointed.
You're out.
And I think it is aimed at me. Sometimes I watch pop culture and I'm like, this isn't for me. So I get it. Like, if I don't like it, I'm not supposed to like it. I think I'm supposed to like The Bear. I think it's on FX.
Yeah.
Some random lame middle-aged dude.
I like the first season.
Yeah. So I couldn't believe it. There's a word that I keep using that I can't use on this show, but it's when like you're only concerned with yourself and not anybody else. And I just was screaming it at the TV. So anyway, I'm mad at it.
What letters to begin with?
M.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm mad at it.
It's a good word.
And it angers me when anything forgets about its audience and is doing it for itself instead of its audience. And I felt that every second.
Did you watch all of Ted Lasso?
I did.
Did you feel the same way about that or not quite that extreme?
Not that extreme, but my wife made a very good point about this, which is both those shows, and she made the direct comparison, both those shows were great ensembles where it was about them interacting with each other. And in both third seasons, they separated the ensembles and let all these different people go off on their own. And it's like, those are very good actors and interesting characters, but what made us love them was their interaction. And then, like, especially The Bear here, they just had standalone episodes where it was just a single character the whole time. It's like, this is not what this show was. It's not what people liked. It's a soccer team, be at the soccer field all together. It's a restaurant, be in the kitchen all together. It was like, no, let's walk on the sidewalk with one character by his or herself for 25 minutes. And it was a very similar mistake.
I thought The Office did that at the end too.
Like, but The Office lost Steve Carell.
They lost Steve Carell, but it was also, but even when Steve Carell was there, it was like, if you're not in a conference room, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the last scene is like, I get like John Krasinski wants to be a big time actor, so let's give him his time. And I guess maybe he was the only one that kind of broke out, but it felt like they started siloing people in a way that was just not interesting or funny, which feels like maybe the two things you should be striving to be the most.
That feels like advice that you would give people. Like if you were a life coach, it would be like, get in the conference room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that in your life. All right. What are you watching?
Did you finish House of the Dragon? Are you in the House of the Dragon?
I did. Yes.
I thought it was weird. I don't know that I've ever watched. I don't want to give too much away because I know people are maybe still watching and catching up or whatever. I don't know that I've ever watched a season finale that felt like a season premiere.
Yes.
It was a very odd. It wasn't even a bad episode of television. There was just like no finality to it. It was all set up for the next season that we're going to see in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I guess. See you in 2 years. That was a good episode. I'm really excited to see what happens. wish this was the first episode.
Yeah. Or even the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
Like,
That would've
oh
been-
my gosh, you built it up for the exciting conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was odd.
Because they really were building towards the thing they were building towards.
Yeah.
And then it was like, can I see the thing you were building towards? You can see it in 2027.
Yeah. And I'm not familiar with the source material enough to know like how much of it is actually left. Like maybe it's like this much of the book is actually left for them to get into, but they're going to try to expand it over 8 episodes or whatever it is when the next season drops. I'm assuming the next season will be the last one, unless they're really going to drag it out. It was good. I liked it. I thought the second season was better than the first season, but the finale was very strange. Just kind of left you wanting more, but like not in the best way. Not in the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I completely agree. Never seen a build up to see in 2 years. Like that, ever. And again, it's not even a show that's on any kind of cycle. It's not like we built it up in the old days. We're done in May. We'll see again in September.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, who shot JR? I can't wait to figure out who it is. Like 3 months later, it's like, no,
we have to go shoot this movie now so you can have a season 3. Yeah.
Okay. Eating. I went to a K-pot place.
What's that?
Korean pot cooking and
Okay.
Korean barbecue simultaneously.
Okay.
So this place was, you pick, so it's all at your table. It's one of those things again where they say, you know what costs a lot of money? Hiring chefs. What if we could get the customers to be their own chefs? People would never go for that. Watch me. So we were our own chefs. We ordered a pot of broth. You could pick your broth. And then you ordered all the different meat and vegetables that was brought to your table. And then you had your own individual burner with your broth, and you put your meat and your vegetables in your own broth. But then you had to dish it, like scoop it out and then put it on a plate. So you didn't eat it like a soup, but you cooked it in a broth. And then you ate the meat and the vegetables. And then you ordered meat, and in the center of the table was a grill.
Oh yeah.
And now you ordered Korean meat, steak and chicken and pork and shrimp and everything to cook on the grill. So you had to cook your soup, and then you had to cook your meat. And I have never been more stressed out in my entire life. It was an interesting thing to do once. I cannot for the life of me imagine ever doing it again for pleasure, because unless I'm going to clock in, it's like, oh, I'm here, ding. I'm making my $17 an hour as I go cook my own food. Yeah. Like the soup and the meat. And then people were trying to cook soup and meat simultaneously. And I'm like, we're going to set the table on fire. This is insane. And if this is what Gen Z finds entertaining, God bless you. I cannot handle it.
That's not for me. So there's like places like that they don't employ like chefs, cooks.
Not to cook, maybe choppers.
To chop. You're just a butcher.
You're a chopper.
Yeah.
Ain't no cooking, brother.
What a genius business model.
It's wild. That was all you can eat. But at some point, you know what? In that situation, you know what all you can eat is? All you can cook.
Yeah. Right.
You know why I go to restaurants? So I do not have to cook.
Right.
And I don't want to cook both courses. And then they had like a little bit of like a buffet where they had like pre-made appetizers and they just had spring rolls. And I was like, can I just have 40 spring rolls? This is my favorite part, because I didn't have to roll the spring roll and put a vegetable in and deep fry it. It was there pre-cooked.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite part. Or I could have just gone to the grocery store and bought a box of spring rolls for $5.99 instead of paying what I paid for this. So stressful. Oh my God. So stressful.
I don't want to cook for myself in a restaurant. No, thank you. What did I eat? I went to this state fair last week.
Nice.
Or
Gotta go.
The day that it ended, or the day before it ended, maybe. And I got what I think is among the more underrated sandwiches, which is this fried bologna sandwich.
Nice.
Yeah, very
deep
good.
fat fried?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm not. I don't think I could do that.
Not
But
like
it's just
a deep fat fried Twinkie. They don't drop the
yeah.
bologna
No,
in
no.
the bread.
It's mostly it's like pan fried. I guess is probably more appropriate. But it's a solid like a real thick cut of well griddled, I guess, bologna. It's a pretty nice sandwich. Had a little sauerkraut on there.
Nice.
It's good.
Is there cheese on it?
There was no cheese. Cheese was an option. I got no cheese.
Okay.
Yeah. It was on like a potato roll too, I think. It was quite tasty.
You could probably make that. That sounds like that's an easy lift.
I can make that at home.
Yeah.
It also felt like a very like Pennsylvania Dutch meal to have.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Fried bologna on a potato roll. It's like, I am among my people.
Yeah. No. That completely is true. So just what I'm thinking is just like the end of the Olympics and just yelling at the TV about breakdancing. And I understand it's not for me. But I guess breaking it was just a one-time thing for Paris.
It's not in LA. Yeah.
So flag football, cricket, lacrosse, softball, baseball, and squash will be in LA as new sports. And just to me, those are all at least slightly more sporty than breakdancing. So,
which seems incredibly difficult, but also
not a sport.
Ballet is not in the Olympics. You know what I mean? That looks hard.
There's a lot of things. It's just like, again, it's like, I'm not arguing with your right to exist as an activity. I just don't know that it's a sport. I just think we need to get, the track was so inspiring and Team USA was so awesome and like screaming at the 4x4 relay teams, the women who destroyed everybody and the men who barely won. There's nothing better than who's faster.
Yeah.
I start here. We all start here and we're trying to run there. Whoever gets there first wins. I think we should have more of that. I think that we should chop up the distances even more.
You want a 50 meter?
Yeah. Right. And like a 250 and a 650 or whatever. Just, we have so many other things when.
What if they did it like swimming where you ran 100 and you got to turn around and run backwards for the other?
Oh, shuttle. I'm down for that. Yeah. So I don't know that anybody can get enough of that. What's better than people running? And they had the shot of, in the women's 4x100, Sha'Carri Richardson got the baton behind and then pulled Team USA ahead. And they have that shot like down the line of all the runners. And then she just emerges like pulling ahead of everybody. And it like sends shivers through you. Like, what is better than that? And we just spend so much time with all this other stuff. And it's, again, good luck with your activity. I don't know if you need a medal for it. Yeah. I also actually don't think flag football should be in the Olympics. I think football's fine.
Who's playing in the flag football? Like, is Patrick Mahomes going to represent the United States?
I don't know. I mean, here we are again. It's like, what is 3-on-3 basketball? It's like, well,
it's just an excuse to get Jimmer Fredette to Paris.
You have to be like the 6,131st best player in your country. It's like, did you play for Duquesne in college? Then you can be in the Olympics in 3-on-3. Again, anything that's not. I don't know what flag football is going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying flag football seems fun.
It is fun.
It's great. It's fun to play at a picnic.
Yeah.
But so is burning ants with a magnifying glass. And that's not an Olympic sport. So
how many countries play it? I have so many questions about flag football.
That's why I assume there are countries who are like trying to explain rules to each other now. Because America was like, hey, America, what sport do you want in the Olympics? They're like, football. And it was like, we can't have actual flag football. It's like, okay, that'll work.
Yeah, you can't play
America
football in the Olympics.
What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about, so last week, it was on Kings of Columbus, right? We're talking, I don't even know how we got on the subject. I think it was like, what is the biggest thing you've ever driven?
Oh, yeah.
And then we were
driving the bus.
So we were talking about like, what's the biggest thing you've ever driven? And then we talked about driving a tank if you're in the military. And I said, I want to meet the guy who's driven a tank who's not in the military or wasn't in the military at the time that he drove the tank. So he actually got a text in about that.
Nice.
From Joe Allen. He said, I'm allowed to read this. Said, okay, Bill and Doug, in response to driving a tank while not in the military. After World War II, my grandfather was a policeman. The National Guard trained police in Blanchester, Ohio, to be, I guess, auxiliary National Guardsmen. One day, he drove the tank home for his boots that he forgot. The next day, he drove the tank through a gymnasium when there were people inside. Then he drove no more tanks. Driving a tank through a building. That is exactly what we were looking for.
That is, you kind of think when you're going to hear a tank driving story that it's going to be pretty cool. And that was pretty scary.
He didn't say anybody got hurt. Hopefully nobody got hurt. Guy just drove a tank through a building. It's like a scene from a comedy show.
I've been like out of control on a bicycle before. Where it feels like this is going to be a terrible situation. I can't get this bike to stop. I can't imagine being in that situation while in a tank. I can't get this tank to stop.
I was in a car one time that I wasn't driving it, but I was like tilting back and forth and like almost tipped on its side. And that was a pretty scary situation to just know that you were sort of at the fate of whatever the car decided to do at that point.
Yeah.
So like that in a tank. Yeah. This does not sound very fun.
That just proves that we can talk about anything on this show and somebody will have a story to share with us.
Yeah. Yeah. There was somebody else sent a text and I think they were saying they were like watching or listening like on an airplane. But the way that it started was I thought they were flying a 757. It's like, oh, this is awesome. But it was like they were flying on a 757.
Honestly, like we don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Watching this show while flying a 757.
No, yeah. And definitely don't fly one if you're not supposed to be.
Yeah. Or through a gymnasium.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for this Kings of Columbus. So again, if you've never tried Kings of the North, we certainly would invite you to join us over there. A bunch more stuff coming this week. We are gearing up for an Ohio State season. And we believe Kings of Columbus, we have 2 more shows before the season starts. We believe one will be a hearty quarterback breakdown, where we will analyze the Ohio State quarterback situation, believing that we will have a starter name for the Buckeyes before we record a week from now.
I think so.
And I think we will do some things like comparing it to past Ohio State starting quarterbacks, comparing it around the country, setting some expectation levels, how we think this will look. And then we will do sort of our season predictions for Ohio State, how we think this season will unfold. I think we'll predict Ohio State's record on there, and we'll predict some individual things for the players.
Yeah. And some over-unders, we said, right? Yeah.
Some over-unders, yeah. I think we'll have an opportunity to set some interesting lines there. And then we'll get the tech subscribers involved and see what, kind of predictions you guys have for this season. If you want to be part of that, 614-662-4509. For now, thanks as always to our producer, Mike Urostowski. He's Bill Landis in the same room. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was Kings of Columbus.